just record the start of the recording.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can do what you want.
So I just do what I want and press F5 when I'm ready.
F5 is already recording, doesn't matter, you can cut that off. F7 just stops it, you literally just press F7, it will stop. Okay?
Thank you.
That's alright.
Okay. Walkie-talkie, so that's lovely. Thank you.
And you just need to unfreeze it.
Oh, lovely.
Okay.
Okay, Jen, so I'm going to make a start now. If you look to the screen in front, so what you're doing today is you are just watching me with my thoughts as I do this exam, okay? And there's some techniques in there that hopefully I've tailored sort of towards your level. And afterwards, if you do need to see me and ask some questions, please do. But obviously, as an exam, you are not to interact, please. Okay, so this isn't the timing yet, because I just want to go over the brief. So you've all got the brief in front of you, which, as I say, you should get next week or the beginning of the week after. Now, in class, we will go through this, but I cannot formally teach you anymore. I had enough, miss, as it was. Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, just in case.
Yeah, that's really kind of you. Thank you. Lovely. Okay, so you've got the preliminary brief in front of you, and we will go through it in class. But what you should have is a highlighter with you when we go through this, because it's very important that when you go into the exam that you are answering to this brief. It might not say that in the exam paper, but you've got to remember, why have they given you a brief 4 weeks before the exam? It's because they want you to look at this brief and take the information from it in order to prepare yourself for the exam. So it says, in order to make our final choices, we need to evaluate your ideas. Complete the following tasks using the research you have recently undertaken. So I'm going to highlight research. That is all the lovely TV serial dramas that you have been watching for the last 2 years. That's what they mean by research. So they are assuming that in your exam you are going to refer to some case studies of real life programs that you have been watching. Remember to include plenty of examples and keep your answers to the point. Okay. So these are the questions that they are going to, in the exam paper. Number 1 will be, show us your understanding of TV serial drama. Explain the different conventions that often feature in TV serial drama and why they appeal. That's 15 marks. In recent years, TV serial dramas have become very successful. Explain how best to market and promote a new TV serial drama for the modern audience. Also 15 marks. Number 3, we want to hear your ideas. In your pitch, you may wish to include title, brief synopsis, characters, themes, and setting. Now it says you may wish to include. That doesn't mean that that's fully inclusive. There may be other things, and if you are going for top marks, there will be other things there they expect you to include. That's just helping you along your way for your thought process. You may include sketches to illustrate your ideas and explain how they will appeal to the audience, 15 marks. And then number 4, produce a 10-frame storyboard showing your ideas for the opening title sequence for your TV serial drama. Okay, can you just turn that page over for me? You should have the front copy, the front cover there, okay? I just want to draw your attention to the equipment that you are allowed to take into the exam and is expected for you to take in. It will have the title of the exam there, Investigating the Media, Unit 1. It has the topic, television serial drama. That is the only thing you are going to be examined on. They're not going to ask you anything else. If in the exam you feel you got the wrong exam paper, you are to put your hand up. There'll be invigilators, that's the posh word for people, standing there who are there to help you. Okay, you're not allowed to talk, but you put your hand up and they will come over to you. Please don't sit there if you think you've got the wrong paper or you've got something missing. Underneath it will give the date, okay? So again, check that that's all there correct, and it gives you the time. Now this is the really important thing, because you know you've got 4 tasks, equal weighting, and you've got 1 hour and 30 minutes. Obviously, if you get longer time, you need to bring that into your equation. But it works out approximately 22 minutes per question. Now you need to make sure when you walk in the room that you know where the clock is and that you can see it. And if you're one of these that's going to get carried away with your timing, it's a good idea to turn over the paper and even write the timings next to the question so that you know how long you've got. So say the exam starts at 10 o'clock. The first question is 22 minutes. It's say going to take you 5 minutes to get sorted, so you'll be starting that at 10:05. Add on your 22 minutes and write the time next to it, so it gives you a visual reminder of what time you've got to finish writing for that question. Okay, so that would say be 10:27. Okay, so that's my first tip to you. You're allowed to write on the exam paper. You can highlight it, you can write on it. So if you need to be your own prompter, do that right at the beginning and write down those timings. Turn back over again, please. So materials, you're going to have an 8-page answer book. I'm going to do it on A4 paper today. A clean copy of the preliminary material, which is this thing here that I asked you to read through at the beginning. You're going to have an A3 design sheet. That might well be a storyboard, or it might just be a blank paper, depending what they're asking you to do in question 4. And they are assuming that you will take drawing and, please note, colouring materials. You must take colours into the exam. Instructions, use black ink. Okay, no blue pens, please. It clearly states black. The reason being that they're marked digitally now. They get scanned in and the examiner will mark it sort of online. Okay, and if you use a different colour pen, if they cannot read your answer, they are not going to lose sleep and try and work out what you're saying. They will just mark what they can read. Okay, so make sure you have a black pen, please. It says you should use colour pencils or fine liners and a ruler where appropriate, and they obviously can be in colour. Write the information required on the front of your answer book. Answer all tasks because they're equal weighting. If you miss out a question, you've immediately lost 15 marks. That will equate to nearly 2 grades. To make sure you answer all 4 questions, even if you're pushed for time. It's better to answer a couple of sentences than leave it blank. You leave it blank, you know you've got 0. It says you may make sketches and diagrams. Now, a lot of you don't do this, okay? And it clearly states in there that use them. That is part of your answer. It is not an English exam. They're not expecting a great big long essay. So you can do sketches, you can do annotations, and in fact they expect that. Write your answers in the answer book. Do all rough work in your answer book. Okay? If you don't want them to mark your rough, all you do is draw a line through it. But at least it's there for them to acknowledge what your mind was thinking, especially if you're running out of time. And it says that you don't bring in the copy of the preliminary material because they provide you with another one. Okay, so I'm about to start the exam. So if you turn back over, as I say, this is the exam paper. You will have that in front of you. I'm going to have A4 paper and I'm going to attempt to write a question, the answers to this question. I will also have my preliminary material so that I make sure I'm referring to it. So one of the first things I'm going to highlight, and I'm just noticing it's sort of 7 minutes past 9, that's when I've actually officially started. So one of the first things I'm going to look at is it says it's a new UK based. That would suggest that they want it to be based in the UK. So none of these American programs, don't be setting it in New York, okay, or in France. It clearly states UK, so it needs to be in the UK. Okay, that's what they're asking for. Exciting opportunity for you to be involved in creating a brand new production. That is quite important. It can't be a 2nd or 3rd series of a program that already exists. Okay, so it can't be Stranger Things 3. So you need a completely original idea. So I'll write that in there, new idea. We would like you to focus on some social themes. Okay, now social themes, that could be things like marriage, it could be things like alcohol, it could be all your teen issues, you know, going through puberty, gender identity, sexuality, it could be abuse, anything that's sort of currently in the news. And it says aimed at prime time viewing. So I need to have done my research. What does that mean? Well, prime time we know is sort of between 6 and 8 p.m. That's my prime time. So it's going to be broadcast then. We know then that that is before the watershed. So I will need to moderate what I've got within my drama because it needs to be suitable to be broadcast at that time. We'd like it to appeal to a family audience. So again, that reiterates that it's pre-watershed and there should be a strong moral theme. So moral would suggest that maybe good comes right at the end, or there's a lesson to learn. Okay. Again, tells me all the things I need to include, but that doesn't mean that that's all I include. There could be other things I think about. We'd like you to suggest ways in which we can promote. That is hinting to me that one of the questions is going to be about promotion. Okay, and that could be things like a trailer. It could be things like a web page or sort of some online presence. Okay, it could be print with posters. So I'd expect to see that in there. It says especially using cross-media platforms. Now again, that could quite well be part of one of the questions. Cross-media platforms is the way that we access TV serial dramas. Not like the old days when it was just television, but we put that one on there. We've got TV, but of course we stream a lot of stuff now. Okay, we might watch it through our iPads or our phones. Okay, we have catch up. We have things like box sets. Okay, and obviously we have the PC, laptop. And for your age group, we have things like our gaming devices, our Xbox and our PlayStations. So that's just making me aware that they want to make sure that what I'm doing is suitable maybe to be viewed on all these different devices. And that's what it means by cross-media platforms. Okay, so I'm expecting a question on that. And then finally, it says, we may also ask you to help with the opening title sequence. Well, that suggests to me there's a good chance that's going to be question 4. Okay, is that the practical? They're going to probably ask me to storyboard that. So that's what I've taken from the preliminary material. And if you go back to the question paper, we would have guessed all of that correctly. It's there, quite clearly there. Okay, so I'm going to start writing my answer now. That's taken me sort of 5 minutes just to go back through the preliminary material, get my mind ready for what I'm going to write. So I'm actually going to start writing this first question at 9:16. So my 22 minutes makes it 9:38. I need to keep an eye on the clock. Now I know the clock is behind you and I'm wearing a watch, but in the exam obviously you're not allowed to wear a watch. Okay, but I'm going to keep a check on my time. If I don't finish, I will move on to the next question and leave enough space that if I make up time in the exam, I can come back to my answer. But I'm not going to carry on past 9:38 because I do need to move on. Okay, so question 1. Show us your understanding of TV serial drama. Explain the different conventions that often feature in TV serial drama and why they appeal. Now, basically, I know that this is the theory. Okay, this is the stuff I should have been researching, and basically is asking me what the codes and conventions of a drama are and why they appeal. I know from my lessons that people can do lots of other things in the time that they might sit down and watch a TV serial drama. So what is it that makes it appeal that they're going to say, hey, I'm going to watch this rather than go and do that? So I'm going to start my answer. Please ignore that.
I'm sorry, in SPN I meant.
Right, I'll turn that off. Okay, so I very clearly need to put in the margin the question that I'm answering. okay? Because remember, this is going to the examiner, especially with things like your handwriting. You've got to be clear what question you're answering. I would recommend you answer them in numerical order. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, but you don't have to. Okay, if you feel you want to start with your treatment first because you know that's the way you prefer to do it, then that's fine. My advice is do 1, 2, 3, 4 so you don't miss any out, but just make sure that in the margin you have clearly written what question you are answering. So I'm looking, what am I doing? So different conventions and why they appeal. Now, if you remember the mark scheme, there's 2 marks for this. There's the AO3, so the AO1 and the AO3. AO1 is the knowledge, okay? So that means the codes and conventions. What do I know about TV serial dramas and how they're put together? And then the second part of the question is how they appeal. So it's a 2-part question. I have to talk about how the codes and conventions, what makes a TV serial drama, and I've got to talk about the appeal. Okay, here goes. So I'm thinking, TV serial dramas. The first time I say it, I'm going to write it out in full, but after that I am going to abbreviate it to TVSD, or just call it drama. Okay, they don't expect you to keep writing that out. Do it the first time, and then after that abbreviate it. So TV serial drama is a popular genre. You've got to try and get these key words, these media words in. I can't speak in the mic and write, so hopefully you can still hear me. Hopefully. Okay, so get these keywords in, please, like genre. So TV serial drama is a popular drama that is accessed by a large, diverse audience. Can you hear me over there? Yeah? Can you just nod? Dan, can you hear me? Yeah. A TV serial drama, I've abbreviated it, is a program that is usually constructed of a number of episodes. Okay, I've got a key word in again. In the UK, these tend to be between 3 and 8 episodes long and may be more than one series. Okay. In the US, they could be as many as 24 episodes and multiple seasons. Now, if you see there, I'm using all key words that I'm going to get marks for that, showing I know what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about episodes, I'm talking about a series, I'm talking about seasons. And I've also shown in my research that maybe the UK is set different to Britain. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is an example of an American TV series drama that is now into its 5th season. Now, even if there's 6 seasons, then I'm not going to lose mark because I got that fact wrong. Okay, they're not marking that. You know, it's not like a maths exam where there's a right or wrong answer. But what I'm showing them is I've done my research, because if you remember, it says I have to refer to examples. If you've been technically correct for your English, you should abbreviate, put that in inverted commas. In its 5th season of 24 episodes, where Sherlock, a British production, has had at least, because I'm not sure how many it's had, at least 3 seasons of 6 episodes. So going back to the exam paper, you can see that I have put in examples there, okay? So even though the question didn't say it, the part at the beginning told me I had to do that, so I've ticked that box. I've used keywords. So what are the codes and conventions? Well, basically, I know that it's things like, and again, if I want to do a quick mind map, so I've got my thinking up here, I think codes and conventions are characters, a narrative, as in a plot line, okay, there may be a story arc, okay, there may be some form of conflict, because after all it is a drama, and drama has to have a conflict. There may be something to do with a setting or location, okay. It's going to have visual and audio codes, okay, and that is the posh word for the types of shots and the type of sound that it uses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remind myself of this as I'm writing. Okay, so I've talked about the way it's structured with episodes. Okay, so TV serial dramas appeal to the audience. Now this is making sure I'm talking about this second part of the question, so I don't lose all those marks because I haven't talked about appeal. TV serial dramas appeal to the audience for a number of reasons. Sorry. Is that better? Okay. The audience will watch the programme. Please notice that in British spelling, programme is 2 M's and an E, okay? The American spelling is only 1 M, but they will expect you to know how to spell programme, so make sure you do learn that spelling. The audience will watch the programme as they may wish to be entertained, okay? And in brackets, I'm going to put the uses and gratification theory. Okay, and again I might want to write a reminder of what that is, and the acronym is PIES. Okay, P, personal identity, I is info and education, E is escapism, as in diversion. If I watch this show, I haven't got to go and do the washing up. If I watch this show, I haven't got to do my marking. It could also just be entertainment. And S is for social identity. So let's incorporate that into my answer. So TV serial dramas appeal to the audience for a number of reasons. The audience will watch the programmes and they may wish to be entertained. They may also wish to escape their daily life by immersing themselves in someone else's. They become, it's really hard to see my writing with this mic in the way. They become involved with the characters. So, for example, in BBC's production of Trauma, the audience became interested in whether the surgeon was to blame for the boy's death. Okay, I don't need to write any more about that, but again, I'm giving an example. The examiner is a media teacher. They will be a secondary school teacher. Okay, so the chances are they will probably know what you are referring to. This allows, and I'm doing I don't know if you can see, but I'm doing a time check that I'm still on time. This allows the audience to escape into the medical world and observe the doctor's dilemma. Another reason it may appeal is because they can relate and identify with the themes. For example, I'm going to use another example, but I don't have to because I've mentioned enough. For example, in Sherlock, which is a crime drama, they may see themselves as like Sherlock and good at solving crimes. It also serves a way of interacting socially with their friends, as it gives them something to talk about. Okay, and that's where social identity comes in, is that, you know, you can walk in and have a chat with your mates about last night's episode, or, you know, whether you worked out who the villain was. So that's called social interaction. They can also immerse themselves into another world. This is called surveillance, okay? That's the other thing for S. So in Sherlock, they can see how a detective works, okay? So basically, I'm sort of building up my answer. I'm using examples as they asked. I'm checking back at the questions, talking about conventions. So I've talked about characters, which I put over here. I'm going to talk about things like story arcs. Often, the narrative, as in plot line, engage the audience. And usually, a TV serial drama will have a strong, relatable plot. A code and convention of this is a story arc where the plot builds over a number of episodes and the resolve or answer is not revealed until the end. This allows and entices the audience to keep watching them, to find out what happens. Okay, quick time check. Got about 4 minutes left. Some TV serial dramas have an ongoing narrative and you will need to have seen the previous episode However, they are usually constructed, so again I'm looking at codes and conventions, by having some recap scenes at the beginning of each episode. Other TV series, I might just put, for example, trauma. Other TV serial dramas may be episodic, where each episode has a complete storyline, but a narrative arc which runs through the series. An example of this one is Doctor Who. Okay, so you can see that I'm putting examples in. I'm not particularly talking about these programs, but I'm using them to reiterate what I'm saying. Okay, so that I am referring to real examples that I've looked at, but I'm not retelling their plot lines, I'm not retelling their story. That's not what the question is asking. A quick time check, I've got 2 minutes left on this question. So I'm just going to check the question again. Keep rereading the question, because it's so easy for us to waffle off and go off on a tangent that we sort of forget what we're talking about. So they've asked me about a pill. I know I've answered, or I've touched on that. They've asked about the conventions. What other conventions have I put on here? Because I might not be able to cover them all. I know I've talked about narrative. I know I've talked about story arc. I do need to talk about conflict, because that's a huge thing in a TV drama. That's the whole point of it. Okay, so very quickly, because I'm running out of time. Another convention is conflict. This is essential in a TV serial drama. Notice I'm abbreviating that again. I'm going to drop in here the fact that I know a little bit of theory. Okay, so I'm going to talk about to do off, learn how to spell it. To do theory was that all dramas involved an upset of equilibrium. This is the equilibrium theory. And that the narrative involved resolving this to find a new equilibrium. Strauss also spoke about binary opposites. Good v evil, rich v poor, etc. All TV serial dramas need this element of conflict to engage the audience. Quick time check, I've got about a minute left, so I might well, normally if I was writing this I would keep rereading my answer through, but I don't want to bore you by keep rereading it. Okay, but I'll be rereading it, just checking what have I written, what have I missed out. So I'm going to go back to that and I'm going to tick off conflict. So obviously I should try and talk a little bit about mise en scene, a bit about location, and if I wasn't stopping and explaining things to you, I'd probably have got that paragraph in there. Okay, but basically I've run out of time for that one, but I am going to leave, because you will have an answer booklet, not A4 sheets of paper, but I would leave the rest of the page, or if I'm at the bottom of the page, I'd leave half of the other page in case I have time at the end of the exam and I want to come back and add more. Don't start the next question here, okay? They don't care how much paper you use, and if need be, and you run out of paper in your booklet, you put your hand up and they will bring more paper to you. I've had a student once that was writing all up and down the margin because they'd run out of paper. Okay, you must put your hand up. They will bring more to you. Okay, so I'm going to leave that, and I would come back to that. But as I said, if I wasn't talking to you lot, I would probably have written another paragraph. But I'm going to go on to question 2 now. So, question 2, again, write in the margin. I'm going to take a time check. It's now 9:39. I know my 22 minutes. Here's my maths. 1, I go over. So basically, I've got until 1 minute past 10 in order to do this question. Okay, so I've got my little time check there. So, question 2. In recent years, TV serial dramas have become very successful. Explain how best to market and promote a new TV serial drama for the modern audience. So, market, promote, they're my keywords. Oh, and the modern audience. And if I go back to my preliminary material, I had that clue here that this was going to happen. So in theory, I've had 4 weeks to think of my answer and to go and research this. So that I've come into the exam and it's all there ready and waiting. So I'm actually going to I'm going to do a very quick mind map again, because remember, I'm allowed to do this. Okay, so I'm thinking about promotion now. From my research of case studies and from what I've learned in lesson, I know that there are 3 main ways. I have print, I have online, and I have broadcast. Now I know from print that could be things like magazines, and usually that may involve a interview article with usually the actor. Can't spell article. It might well be a review of the actual program, because magazines, the editors of magazines, they do get sent these from the production companies. If you've ever looked at a TV guide and they all got the same photos regardless what issue or what copy, whether it's the TV Times or the BBC or TV Today, they all have the same stock pictures. It's because these are what are sent out to them. Okay, they get the same stock pictures and they get the same sort of blurb, and it'd be someone working for the magazine will watch the episode and then they write the review, but the pictures are always the same because it's what gets sent to them. Okay, so there might be an article in there, there might be a review, there might also maybe be a print advert in there. Okay, now online, I know that this could be social media, that they might well have set up accounts for Facebook, Twitter, and all the other stuff that you know about and you use. Okay, it may have its own website, and an interactive website, because they're deeming now that an audience is active. Okay, the audience is active. I'll make that little note to myself, rather than passive, and that means that they interact with the program. Okay, whether they go online and they go onto the website and they click on character profiles and read about them, they might well do a quiz about the character or an episode. I was looking at Ackley Bridge last night, and that's got a whole website within the BBC website where you can click on the profiles and the Twitter accounts of the characters. You can take a test to see what character you would be like. Okay, so that's all part of online. Now the website might be its own one, but usually if it's a new program it probably isn't, but it might be part of the institution's one. So if it's a BBC production, it might be part of the BBC site, it might be part of the ITV site. Okay, but there will usually be some sort of online presence for that new TV serial drama. There might also be things like viral adverts, like trailers for it. And again, these could be standalone, or it could be on YouTube, or again, all those other sites that you know they run those things. And then finally, we've got the really old-fashioned way, which is broadcast. Now remember, with broadcast, gents, it's not just TV. That covers TV, but it also covers radio. Oh, sorry, for online, I should also think about your streaming. Okay, there might be adverts sort of showing on things like Netflix, pops up on your iPods, all that sort of thing. So that sort of becomes part of the online, but it does sort of merge with your TV as well. To TV again, it might be trailers. They might have guests on chat shows. Okay, and that is the same for radio. It's exactly the same. There might be an advert on the radio. There might well be an interview with the writer or one of the actors. Well, I've taken 3 minutes to actually put that down, and that's virtually my answer. So the rest of the time, I'm going to write that up into my answer. So that's without the other quirky things like, you know, your bus billboards. Okay, there might be special events organised. You know, there might be a stall or something set up in a local supermarket, or say something like HMV. Okay, that when you walk past, say, hand you out a t-shirt or something like that. Anything to get awareness. And I know that if you're in my group, we looked at this. Okay, we went online and we looked at case studies of how things have been marketed. So you've got all these lovely quirky things as well. But I would start with these three here: print, online, broadcast. Do something like this mind map. Because even if I run out of time, and I'm going to, because I'm chatting away to you, obviously if I was in the exam, I'll be writing this, not talking. Even if it's there, the examiner will see that. So even if I didn't get to talk about all of it, or sorry, write about it, they will see that you knew about it and the thought was there. And if you're between marks, between grades, so say you're between a grade 4 and a 5, sorry, level 4 and 5, and they see all that, it might well be enough that actually takes you on to the next one. Okay, so please do these little sketch mind maps. It's worth the 2-3 minutes it's going to take you, because it organises your thinking, it will stop the waffle, and it means you, when you're writing, you can keep checking back what you've written about. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So in recent years, TV serial dramas have become very successful. Explain how best to market and promote. Now I haven't looked yet, but it says modern audience. Okay. Now, the modern audience, this is where I think we're looking at how we access the media. That we don't just watch it traditionally now on TV at the set time it's broadcast. So I need to be aware that a lot of people watch this as in binge watch, and that is now actually a term that's being used. Okay? It's actually a term, thanks to Netflix, we binge watch things now. And I need to be aware of that when my TV serial drama is broadcast, not everyone is going to wait a week for the next episode. They might wait until it's all been broadcast and then watch it as one entire series. So I've got to be aware of that in this answer. We know, as we've said in the previous question, that they might watch it on their iPad, their mobile phones. So I've got to make sure that when I'm promoting it, I'm allowing for this modern audience, which is this bit here. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that most of my answer is predominantly about how we access TV serial dramas now, and incorporate that into my answer. And then I know that I'm going to get the marks for that. Okay, so I'm going to go straight in there with viewing habits have changed over recent years, especially with the rise of companies like Netflix and Amazon, where binge watching is more and more popular. Traditional channels, so this is showing that I've researched how things are broadcast, how they're shown. It's not asking me in that the question, but the opening is there to show off this information, and I will get credit for it. Traditional channels such as BBC have had to follow suit. Have had to. Now this is me acknowledging that second part of the question. Had to follow suit. Okay. Therefore, this needs to be reflected in the promotion of the TV serial drama. So I'm going to put traditionally, sorry, so you can watch it. It may have been promoted on the TV through a trailer and maybe an interview or chat show with the writer or main actors, but we will also need to look at online marketing and repeat back the question for the modern day audience, so it shows that I am answering that part of the question. So therefore I'm not going to get 0 marks for that by the fact I've mentioned it, even if I don't even put any more in. It's showing the examiner that I had thought about the question. A good way of doing this is to run is that back up there? Yeah, good. A good way of doing this is to run an online marketing campaign such as opening a Facebook or Twitter account for the TV serial drama, even going further and targeting characters from the show. The audience can be active and engage with them as though they are real. Okay, Ackley Bridge, note another example, did this extremely well. I'm just going to briefly explain, not by too much, by giving their main characters online profiles and Twitter accounts. The audience could even watch mini outtakes or scenes which were not broadcast. Take quizzes, not the word I want, but join in chat forums and research the characters' backstories. Okay, so again what I've done is I've given an example and I've given different ways that online presence can sort of engage the audience. Other ways to promote online, and I'm checking my watch as I'm doing this, is to run viral adverts on YouTube or as pop-up adverts. So each of these I'm just going to get ticks for as the examiner's reading it. I don't need to really go into it. I don't need to explain it. The fact that I've mentioned it shows that I know what I'm talking about. Okay, and I can go back up here and I can check. I've talked about that, Have I talked about a website? I need to go back through and read. Did I talk about a website? Not sure I did, so I'm going to say it again. I might end up repeating myself, but they will forgive me if I don't waffle on about it too much. Some TV serial dramas had their own website for this interaction to happen. Some could have links within the institutions. Notice that's a media term. Website such as BBC. This would be an excellent way to promote the TV serial drama, as many people now access the programme through mobile devices rather than TV at the scheduled broadcast time. So again, by writing that, I'm acknowledging what they've asked me in the question about talking about the modern day audience. So I've talked a bit about this, I got bits of it in. I don't want to forget the traditional way, I don't want to forget about print. If you remember the lesson I did, one of the... Yes.
Because I've been told that I have to come here even though my name's not on it.
No, you don't, but you're welcome to sit down, but make your mind up.
No, I don't really want to do it.
Okay, bye then. We're in the middle of it, so you need to leave. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that, gentlemen. Obviously, that wouldn't happen in a real exam. Okay, so the TV serial guide is probably one of the most important. Okay, whenever a new drama is on TV, it usually makes the front cover of a television guide. If you don't believe me, do your research this weekend. You don't have to buy it. Just stand there and look. Go into WH Smith, go into Tesco and look at the magazines, the TV guides, and the chances are, because there's quite a few coming on TV in the next few weeks, that they will take the front cover. If they don't, they would definitely be inside. Now, if it's on the front cover, that means that usually there is a review in there as well. So make sure you get that in. One of the best ways to promote, and I keep going back to the question, promote my TV serial drama so that I'm not deviating from the question, is print with a TV guide. Usually when a new drama is broadcast, I've got 10 minutes left on this question, looked at my watch, new drama is broadcast, it will be on the front cover. This is very much on view to the audience.
Little Diane, are you on the radio?
That also won't happen in your exam. Right, this is very much on view to the audience and may entice them to read the interview or review, which will be inside. There will be images of the main characters, and often the actors are now I'm going to drop in another media word here, or term, the unique selling point. Okay, it shows them again, I'm doing my research. So there will be images of the main characters, and often the actors are the unique selling point for people to watch the drama. And again, I'm going to drop in a little case study, and I'm going to put it in brackets because I'm not going to say much about it. So I'm going to say Kit Harington, gunpowder. Don't need to explain it. I've put it in brackets. The examiner will know you've dropped that in there as an example of what you've been studying. Okay, and the chances are that was only on a few weeks ago. They will know about it. Okay, so though they're not taking the exam, in theory, if they've been teaching you, they should sort of know what's current. Okay, so I've talked about that. I keep turning it off, but obviously not. Right. Okay, I've got 6 minutes left. Right, this would link also to posters in the magazine. And we could, now remember they're asking about my TV serial drama, not about them in general. So I must keep bringing it back that I'm on about how I promote a TV serial drama. This would link to posters in magazines, and we could also run a campaign on billboards, buses, wraparound car visuals, okay, all that way that you've looked at about how things are promoted. And I'm going to put etc. Okay, because that's telling them that there's just so many to mention, but I'm aware of it. Okay, it is important that the TV serial drama is very visual.
Please, could you please go to P7 afterwards?
That the audience both see
Thank you.
and hear about it. So another way to promote it could be an advert on the radio, or even an interview with one of its stars discussing the new show. Okay, and basically make sure you're leaving time to be reading through your answer just to make sure that you think you're covering everything. So I know I've talked about the magazine, I've talked about an article review, I've talked about a print ad, I've talked about a trailer, I've talked about radio, so I've sort of got nearly everything in there. Okay, now I could carry on, or I think, oh, I can move on to other thing. I've still technically got 4 minutes on this question, but do I think I've written enough? Have I dropped in enough examples? Have I made up a bit of time? Shall I use this time to move on, which is what I'm going to do. Again, if I was in the exam, I would be rereading through my answer just to check whether I've left anything out, but I'm aware I'm chatting away. So I'm going to move on now to question 3.
Okay.
But I am going to leave that space in case I do want to come back. Okay, so I will then go to the next page in my booklet. So here's my question 3. Again, I'm going to look back to what it says. We want to hear your ideas in your pitch you may wish to include. So remember, this is linked to the brief, and you are supposed to answer in role. Now, I'm aware the front cover didn't say that, but usually it does, and it will in your exam. It will say answer your questions in role. Now, looking at the preliminary brief, this looks as though it was a letter or an email that was sent. Okay, so therefore I will answer back in role, and it's just a simple sentence at the beginning, and then technically you've answered in role. So if I look at the preliminary brief, it's we look forward to hearing your ideas, Ray Blackmore. So if I just, in the margin, okay, I'm not going to bother with a mind map on this one, because actually if I look at the preliminary brief and the question paper, it's actually got what I should be including. Okay, So I'm going to go straight into this one. But again, if you want to do a quick mind map as a check, because that organises your mind by writing out, then please do. Okay. So I'm going to make sure I'm in roll, and I'm going to say, dear Mr. Right, we back on? Dear Mr. Blackmore, I'm also gonna. Yeah, I think I'm on about 10:05 now because I've just done a bit of chat. 22 minutes would take me to 10:27. Okay, my time check. Dear Mr. Blackmore, I read with interest your proposal for a new TV serial drama. Again, maybe I should write that in full, but it's there. Please find my attached, if it's an email, or it could be following. Okay. Ideas. Okay. And I look forward to discussing. Actually, I think I'll say my following. I'm going to use actually the technical word treatment there, but I look forward to discussing my ideas with you further. That is enough to show the examiner that I am writing in roll. Okay, and it doesn't even have to be that long as a sentence. And now I'm going to go on to it. So we want to hear your ideas and your pitch that you may wish to include. So it's told me in the title, the brief synopsis, characters, themes and setting, but I also want to, I'm going to lay out on there the number of episodes and maybe the way the episodes are going to run, because I want them to really realise that I know the codes and conventions of what a TV serial drama is, linking that back to question 1. Without putting things like those words in, like episode, series, story, arc, I could be writing a synopsis, a treatment for a film, or for a book, for a novel, for a video game. So I've got to make sure, even though it doesn't say it, I've got to make sure I get that language in to show the examiner I know the codes and conventions of a TV serial drama. Because this is a 3-mark question, and you get marks for do you know the codes and conventions of a TV serial drama? Okay, you get marks for your actual idea, and they get marks for the appeal. Because if you notice the second part of the question, and that's quite easy to miss out, you may include sketches and explain how it appeals to the audience. I've got to put in the appeal, and I know with my classes when we looked at the mock, a lot of students forgot about talking about the appeal. So not only have I got to outline my idea for my TV serial drama, but I've got to say why it is going to engage the audience. If I don't do that, I've lost 1/3 of the marks of that question, and it's worth 15 marks. So there's a good 5 marks I can lose if I don't talk about the appeal. If I don't make it clear that it's a TV serial drama, I can lose up to another 5 marks, which means I could have the most wonderful treatment written and only still get 5 marks. That equates to a low E, maybe a high F, and yet it could be the most fantastic idea that's ever been written, but you won't get higher than an E. Okay, so it doesn't actually say that in the question, but I know this because I've been listening in my media lessons to how I'm supposed to answer this question. So here we go then. I've had 4 weeks to think about this. I know that it's got to connect to the brief. Even though it hasn't reminded me of that, I've got to think, why did they give me this brief? Why have I been working on this? Because,
Miss, could you please go to 8 days?
Because this is my...
Sorry. Yes, please. Sorry.
Because this is my idea. So I know it's got to be UK based. I know it's got to be brand new. I can't refer to anything, any other series of something.
Miss, when you've gone to duty, could you come to Mr. Stowe's office?
I know it's got to be prime time viewing before 8 o'clock. and I know it's got to have family themes and be suitable family audience. I'm also aware of the exam that I would be writing at this point. Okay, so be aware that I might run out of time for this question, but make sure you know what you're being asked, gents. Okay, so I've got to get all that in. So I've written enroll. Now I'm just going to go straight into my treatment. It's not an English essay. I can use subheadings. I'm going to go straight into it because I've planned this already, as in last night. I put this together. My title is called Absent. Okay, I'm going to write a quick log line, which is like a it's not quite a synopsis, but it's a bit like a blurb. Okay, so it's going to be based around my character. Her main name is Debbie. Okay, so no, I'm going to start again. Basically, it's an idea that this little boy goes missing, and it's a three-parter, and they've got to find out what happens to this little boy. So, a child goes missing. Who is to blame? Debbie starts to question herself, or is the answer closer to home? Okay, so in theory, I've got a bit of a plot in there. You should pick up the genre, so it's a bit like a kind of crime drama. Okay, now it's called Absent. I'm going to maybe explain that. Okay, and I'm going to use some media word here. Connotation, I haven't used that yet. The connotations of this is someone or something is missing.
Miss, could you please go back to T7 afterwards? I haven't got down there yet. I've just been in the unit for 10 minutes. I'm down there.
Hey, Stu, now you turn us off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, right. So the connotation of this is someone or something is missing. It may be the child. It may be the question of the person's sanity, as we see when I'm going to write my synopsis. It may be marriage issues. Okay. So there's my connotations of why I've called it Absent, because if you think of a good title, you should be able to connect it and explain what it's about. So a child goes missing, who is to blame? Question mark. Debbie starts questioning herself, or is the answer close to home? So keyword again, synopsis. Okay, so the setting is in a suburban English town. Do you notice that links back to here, but it has to be in the UK? I've got it in straight away. So they will put a little tick and say link to brief, because I've got it. So in a suburban English town, you sort of got middle class family, and I'm really going to make them British and call them the Smiths. So middle class family, the Smiths, with their 2 teenage children. Become involved with a missing child, Jamie, their neighbour's son, who disappears whilst Debbie Smith, that's the wife and mother, is looking after him. Basically, the Smiths, that's Debbie and Dave, are having a few marital issues, because remember, it's got to be sort of social themes. And whilst she is on the phone arguing with him, because basically he's an IT manager and he's working too long and he should have been home and he isn't. So she's phoning up having a bit of a go because she's very stressed. This child goes missing. So while she's on the phone arguing with him, Anne had asked her daughter let's call her Holly. She's 14 to watch Jamie. She is too involved on her social media because we know what teenagers are like, taking her Snapchat selfies and everything else. So while she's asked her daughter to watch him, she's too involved on her social media and he disappears. Okay. The drama unfolds over 3 episodes. Now look at that. I've got that keyword in. A little time check. It's 10:15, so I've still got 12 minutes. The drama unfolds over 3 episodes. Okay. As a complete narrative. So there's not going to be a second series. Okay. The drama unfolds over 3 episodes as a complete narrative, whilst we follow the police investigation, but more Debbie's decline, questioning her own mental state to what may have happened to Jamie. I'm going to put that there's a subplot, and this involves the Smiths' sort of marriage and their relationship with Jamie's mother, who's the single mother next door, and she's too busy online dating and partying. So she's a bit of a dysfunctional mother, and she dumps Jamie a lot of the time on poor old Debbie. So there's sort of going to be that sort of going on in the background. So the Smiths' marriage and their relationship with Sue, the neighbour, and Jamie's mother. In the character profile in a minute, I will put the detail about this character. And there's also going to be the subplot of their teenage son. Let's call him Connor. How old was the daughter? Did I put as 14? So we put him as 16. Okay, he is involved with street graffiti. Okay, that's what he gets up to in his little spare time when he's out with his mates. He's a bit of a graffiti artist. So I'm trying to make sure that I've got, it's UK based, it's brand new, I've got social themes on there of maybe marriage, there'll be alcoholism with the single mother Sue, sort of partying and drinking a lot, that she's not really looking after Jamie too well. I've got characters that hopefully will appeal to sort of a generation, so you've got your teenagers in there, you've got their parents in there. And the moral theme is going to be about questioning your own sanity, maybe about alcohol, maybe about family relationships. So hopefully I've sort of covered all the things I've highlighted in there. Okay, so I've put a brief synopsis. Now I have to obviously write about the characters. I didn't want to have too many because I was aware I only had 22 minutes to write this question. And I've got 10:27, so I've still got some minutes. So we've got the Smiths. I'm just checking again with the exam paper that I've put a suitable title, I've put the plot line, I've put themes kind of in the synopsis, I've sort of weaved them in there. I'm on the characters now. Okay, so the Smiths. So we've got, what do I call him? I called him Dave Smith. Now, they don't just want who they are and what they do, only write in here what's relevant to the drama. Remember, there has to be the conflict. So I've already said the conflict's going to be the child go missing and sort of the who done it, but it's going to be the conflict of who has done it and who's to blame. So this is where the marriage problems will arise. They're already there, but it sort of brings it ahead. We've also got the conflict with the neighbour because she's going to blame them for the boy going missing when maybe she'd be at home and stop partying with online dates and things like that. Okay, so ICT manager, this is relevant because he works long shifts. Okay, he is usually late home, which means he's usually quite stressed. Okay, he often gets called in to work at short notice. Okay, so he's got marriage issues, mainly because he's not there. So his wife's feeling a little bit unloved and unsupported. And she might also be thinking he's working so late, he's never here. Is he maybe having an affair? Okay, not particularly going to go into that, but there will be that undercurrent that maybe she's suspicious why he's not home. Okay, he's probably just working really hard, but I've put that in there because obviously that gives a sort of side to his character. So then you've got sort of our main character, if you want, which I've called Debbie Smith. You could put in their age. I'm going to put, you know, they're probably early 40s. Right, so you've got Debbie Smith. She's the wife. She is, let's say she's part-time retail assistant. She works down the local supermarket, does some shifts. Part-time retail assistant. Okay, that's not really that interesting, but what's interesting is that she suffered a little bit of a breakdown when she was at university. Now this was when she was 18, and again she's late 30s, early 40s, so it's not really relevant apart from the fact it's obviously her history, and as this plot unfolds, it's going to be, you know, is she questioning her sanity? Did she black out? Has she done something and she doesn't remember? Because she's got a history of it. And it could be the conflict that maybe the husband brings that up. Maybe her friend brings it up, the neighbour. Okay, so that's one for it. She suffered a breakdown at university, which meant that was the reason she dropped out. So though she's a part-time shop assistant, she could have gone on to be a professional, but she didn't finish her degree because of her mental health issues, and ended up sort of getting married and having children. So probably she's intelligent, but maybe hasn't reached her potential for whatever reason. It might well be marriage and family. She sort of put all that on a back burner. Okay, so she's not a working class woman who didn't do well at school. Obviously she got A levels, blah blah blah, to go to university, but unfortunately she didn't finish. So she suffered a mental breakdown at university, so dropped out. I'm going to put that she questions herself when Jamie disappears. Now the thing is with her, she's quite stressed because she's that typical mum that she's doing everything. Okay, she's doing the cleaning, the housework, running a home, doing a part-time job. She's getting the neighbour's kid dumped on her. She's hasn't got the support from hubby because he's obviously out, so you're going to see all that sort of that tension and stress. Okay, so she's stressed and overworked with the usual day-to-day. She's got 2 teenagers, isn't she? Day-to-day running of life. Now what's really going to go in the mix, I haven't mentioned it yet, but we've got Alice, and Alice is Dave's elderly mother. She has just moved in with the family because she's suffering from dementia. You know, it's quite low at the moment, but they've moved her in. So just moved in, suffering with some dementia. So again, there's a social issue there about the generation gap and about the elderly parent. And unfortunately for Debbie, this is the mother-in-law, so it's not her mother, but she's sort of having to get involved with looking after her husband's mother, even though he's the one that's out all the time. Okay, so you've got that other conflict there. So she's just moved in, suffering with some dementia. Okay, and that gives us that when I come to themes, which I can fit in, I can put that in there. Okay, so then of course we've got the children, so we've got Connor, the teenage son. Okay, he's average at school, he's a nice little lad, but he's the usual teenager. He's out a lot, and he's involved with street graffiti. Okay. Then who did I say? There was the daughter, what have I called her? Holly. She's a wannabe vlogger. Yeah, she's into her social media. Again, typical teenage girl, though I know boys are just the same. Social media, etc. You know, she's involved with her friends. And as usual, teenagers' life revolves around them. We need her in the plot because she's supposed to be looking out for Jamie when he disappears, because she's too busy on her computer and her Snapchat and her mobile and all that other stuff that you lot will know about. So involved with friends and teenage stuff. Right, so you've obviously got the lady next door, you've got Sue, she is the single mother, look at the stereotype there. I haven't put in any race in this, okay? I mean, I could go further than this, I could say, you know, I could bring in the Asian, the black, the mixed race. I'm not going to today, but again, be thinking about that. They want that diversity of characters. I haven't done gender identity either. I haven't brought in anything about sexuality. But again, you could be looking at issues like that if you wanted to. So she's a single mother, okay? She's late 30s. She's online dating, probably with the wrong sort of characters. She's partying with them, with these sort of men. So really she should know back. She's probably a semi-alcoholic. Okay, and she tends to dump, and I'm going to use the word dump. She tends to dump Jamie on the neighbours. She says she'd be back, you know, can you just pick him out? I'm just going off, I'll be back in a couple of hours. And obviously she doesn't turn up. So poor old Debbie, that's another thing she's having to cope with, is someone else's child. So she sort of dumps Jamie on the neighbours a lot. So you've got, if you want, that theme of the dysfunctional parent. But that's very much part of modern day with this sort of online dating and that sort of thing. And then of course the last character obviously is Jamie. He's 4 years old. All we need to know about him is, you know, he goes missing. So he's the one that goes missing. I don't need to say he's got blonde hair or he likes Thomas the Tank Engine, because it's not really relevant. Okay. And then obviously I will maybe have sort of a main detective. Okay. And you know, I could make this a strong female character. Maybe I'll make this an Asian woman or something if I wanted to bring in that diversity. But for the sake of this, I'm not really going to go into that. And because the main story involves these characters, but of course you're going to have that sort of ongoing police investigation throughout what happens. Okay, so I've done about the characters. Let's go over and tick that I've done characters. Yes, I have. Right, so now I'm going to go very quickly on the themes because I've still got, on this one, I've got about another 5 minutes. So, my themes, and I'm not going to write too much on this because I've sort of already put it in, but I'm just going to put it under this title so that we can see that I've looked at themes. So I'm going to look at marriage, okay, maybe infidelity. And that isn't going to be happening, but it doesn't mean Debbie doesn't question it. I'm going to look at the dysfunctional parent, which is obviously Sue, okay, with the sort of online dating and partying. Maybe she'd know better at her age, but there you go. And I'm going to, the dysfunctional single parent there. We may look at the alcohol. That maybe a lot of Sue's problem is the fact that she's got an affinity maybe with the Prosecco, and that leads on to the partying, maybe how that's quite damaging. We're going to be looking obviously at the idea of dementia and mental health, not just with Alice, but also, as we know, there's the backstory to Debbie, that she suffered a breakdown, and is that the reason Jamie's gone missing? Has she done something? Has she blacked out? Has she put Jamie somewhere? And a lot of this is going to have flashbacks to maybe issues that she had when she was at university. And then there will be some teen issues where we're going to look at obviously the graffiti and the culture that goes with that. I can't spell graffiti, apologies. And obviously the online vlogging. I mean, if you were developing this, you could say maybe she'd get groomed and all sorts of things, but obviously that's just too much to write, but you can see where you could go with that. Okay, so that's all I'm going to write about themes because I've sort of already explained it in the synopsis. Now the setting, I've said it's in the UK, as suburbia, but I'm going to sort of maybe look more now about the actual structure, because I've got to show that this is a TV serial drama. I did put 3 episodes, but I'm going to repeat that. So it's a 3 episodic drama. Okay. The story arc is going to be Debbie's mental health, questioning, did she do it, to the fact that even the audience are going to go along this journey not knowing if she did it or not. Okay, she's even going to be believing herself whether she did it. Episode 1 will basically be the sort of setting of the story. We get the background to the Smiths, with things like their marriage. Notice I'm almost doing this in note form. It does not have to be an essay. Okay, all I'm doing is jotting down my ideas. They're not asking for an essay. So yeah, I can do this as this note form. So background to the Smiths, marriage issues, Dave working overtime, Debbie stressed, questions, Dave's, the word is fidelity, I'm just going to put faithfulness. Okay, we're introduced to Alice and her dementia, and basically all the characters are introduced. We're also introduced to Sue and her ways, etc. And I should write over here, it's going to be 1 hour long. Okay, it's probably going to be on BBC maybe. It doesn't say in the brief, but they might say what channel it's on. So introduced to her and her ways, etc. In the last 20 minutes, Jamie goes missing. Police are called. Now there's going to be some red herrings in there. There's like a white van parked outside, loitering. Okay, Jamie was in the garden playing. So we, as the audience, we don't know what's happened to him either. Okay, and we put that. Audience also don't know what's happened. Hopefully that will engage them. Right, episode 2 is the police investigation. Got 3 minutes, build up the tension. Okay, question the marriage, relationships, sanity. We as the audience catch snippets of Jamie. Basically, he's somewhere, he's alone, he's alive, but he's trapped somewhere. Okay, and episode 3 is where it sort of concludes. Okay, Jamie will be found, and basically what it is Alice took him down to the park. She played hide and seek with him, forgot about it, came back, and Jamie has sort of got stuck in a cupboard in some abandoned building somewhere. Okay, so though he's alive, Alice doesn't know anything about it, and he does get found because he gets heard when they're out graffitiing, and they sort of hear this noise, and it all ends a happy ever after. Okay, so that's the sort of thing there. I very quickly need to write in my appeal. I have mentioned it slightly in the synopsis, but I just make sure the examiner doesn't miss. Appeal, it will appeal as it covers many social themes and issues relevant to a family audience. Today, the audience will also want to pitch their ideas to whether they can solve the mystery. Yeah, that's enough to say that I thought about its appeal. It's not a lot because I've run out of time, but I put it in. So even if I pick up 2 out of the 5 marks, it's better than 2 than nothing. Okay? Right, so with that, gents, we would then go on to question 4. Now, you're going to be pleased that I'm not actually going to do it. For the timing, I've still got, because we would have finished at 10:37, wouldn't we? Okay. So basically, I would need to do question 4, which if we look at it, is a 10-frame storyboard. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to give you a bit of a longer break because you've done well to sit here and listen. Now, that is quite clearly says that a 10-frame storyboard showing your ideas for the opening title sequence. These are the ones that you've got to be practicing at home. You've got to practice those 20 minutes, and you've got to make sure you get the codes and conventions in on the opening title sequence. So again, on the paper, it might be worth jotting down what the conventions are. You must make sure you've got a title. You must make sure you've got the actors' names. Okay? Even if you just draw it. I think I've got one to show you that I sketched last night, very late last night. This was my sort of idea for a storyboard. So again, I've got a person there, but I've got the name there. I've got in the next shot a person there, a name there. Next shot, person there, and I put directed by. So you've got to get these credits in, okay? The title and the credits are the 2 things. Oh, and also, sorry, the 3rd thing is the theme music. And I actually looked up a good theme music yesterday. Obviously, I couldn't bring notes into the exam, but I'd written here. I was doing this late, so my handwriting was appalling. But I put theme music, and I actually put what the title of the song was, and I would then just put it was running all the way through by drawing an arrow. Okay, so they are the 3 things: title, actors' names and credits, and theme music. They're the things that set it apart from a trailer. So you've got to get those in if it's opening title sequence. That shows the examiner you know the codes and conventions of an opening title sequence. You know the rest about variety of shots, shot number, edits, sound, and timing. But without these 3 things here, they won't differentiate that it's not just an opening or it's a trailer. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think you've done incredibly well. Thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, can you just come and see me? But otherwise, if you're happy, take the question paper with you. But can you just go quietly to the chapel because there's still 10 minutes before your break time, okay? So go to the chapel. Thank you.